Um, okay, so let's get started. Yeah? Okay. 50-50. Someone said loud and clear. We can hear you. Okay. All right, good. All right. So let's get started. I've been talking. um, one of you asked me during Tuesday's live stream if Zhang Youxia is still alive. I said I'll follow up on that. My answer is everyone is trying to find out if he's alive. So it's been 4 weeks since the major shock when Xi Jinping moved against his two most powerful generals. But the situation in Beijing remains extremely sensitive. Xi Jinping and the anti-Xi forces are locked in a delicate balance. No one is winning, and neither side can afford to lose. So far, no one knows where Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhenli are. We don't know. We don't even know what they are actually accused of. Let's just bring them to the screen. Because the state media keeps shifting its narratives from sabotaging Xi Jinping's authorities to corruption to dividing the party. There has been no official explanation of when they were taken, how they were taken, where they're being held, or which agencies handling the investigation. None of the most basic facts have been confirmed. And throughout this entire drama, several highly unusual signals have remained unchanged. First, none of the major military theaters or branches have issued statements of loyalty. Second, the Politburo and the Politburo Standing Committee still have not reached any unified decision. At the same time, the National People's Congress is clearly holding the line. The NPC convened but deliberately avoided discussing this case altogether. The sign could not be clearer. And then last week, the Discipline Inspection Commission even publicly signaled that taking down the two generals was not its operation. So this series of abnormal moves shows just how awkward Xi Jinping's position has become. As China's top leader, he launched a move this big and now has no way to wrap it up cleanly. And after 1 month, right, after a 1 month long standoff, all attention has now converged on a single question, a dreadful one. Is Zhang Youxia even still alive? And if he is, where is he? Sources linked to his son say the Zhang family has tried every channel they have, but still cannot confirm his real status. At the same time, representatives from several princeling families and different party elders have reportedly pressured Xi Jinping to produce the person. So far, the Xi camp has not responded convincingly. This is where the two sides are stuck. If Zhang Youxia is still alive, then the system needs to produce him quickly to give the regime a procedural explanation and patch this crisis over. Otherwise, the entire regime is effectively being roasted over on open fire. From the military to the bureaucratic system, everyone is watching how the drama unfolds. So right now, the internet is flooded with different versions of the story. The constant rumors that Zhang Youxia is still alive look less like transparency to me, but more like stalling for time. So on the surface, everyone is asking the same question, is Zhang Youxia alive? And where is he? But the deeper danger isn't the rumor itself. The real danger is that the way this case was handled has crossed long-standing red lines inside the CCP system. And once those rules are broken, fear spreads fast, especially among people who used to believe they were untouchable. So let's first talk about the rumors. The rumors about Zhang Youxia's whereabouts are everywhere. Some claim he's being held at a Ministry of Public Security training base in Changping on the outskirts of Beijing. Others say he has been sent to live, or quote unquote, live in Shenzhen under what they call organizational supervision. Not a formal arrest, more like downgraded handling or soft detention, where visits are allowed. But we know that's a lie because his family has been denied of any visits. And there were even wild stories about a senior Guangdong official visiting Zhang Youxia for dinner, complete with leaked menu. Personally, I found these claims extremely unreliable. If Zhang Youxia is alive, Xi Jinping would never risk moving him out of Beijing. In the current situation, he would keep Zhang under the absolute control of Wang Xiaohong's security apparatus. Once Zhang is moved out of Beijing and outside Wang Xiaohong's tight control, it becomes very hard to root out attempts by military factions or other forces to rescue him or extract him. Yesterday, new claims began circulating that Zhang Youxia may be on the brink of death. And according to these reports, he's being held at a Central Guard Bureau facility just south of Beijing, near Daxing Airport. He has allegedly been treated terribly, possibly tortured, and for a period of time went on a hunger strike. And the latest claim is that he may now be in critical condition and undergoing emergency medical treatment. These reports remain unverified. As of today, there is still no official statement on the whereabouts of these two generals. No time, no location, no detention site, no investigating body, nothing. Now, in CCP's history, this level of total silence is absurd, very absurd. Even during Mao's era, people still knew where his enemies were. And at the very least, you would expect a formal task force to be announced to handle the case. But so far, there's no sign that any formal mechanism has been activated. Meanwhile, red families are demanding answers. People are now openly saying, alive, we want to see the person. Dead, we want to see the body. And that line isn't emotional venting, it's political language. What it really means is this: we no longer trust Xi Jinping's internal procedures. Enough is enough. So in the past, when senior CCP figures were taken down, even if the outside world didn't know anything, their families always knew where the person was being held and which unit was responsible. And the top leadership also knew the details of the arrest and the investigation. Under normal circumstances, you would know at least something. This time, the time, the location, and the responsible agencies are all deliberately blurred, creating room for speculation that something extremely serious has already happened. So this is deeply unnerving for the CCP elites. And therefore, different factions are preparing their moves. And Beijing's power structure has entered a highly unstable phase because they don't know if Zhang Youxia is still alive or not. And the feeling, the consensus isn't a positive one. So now here's the real red line. It's not just about where Zhang Youxia is. The real issue is how he was taken. So to understand how serious this is, we need to look at how the arrest, or more precisely, the attack, was carried out. Multiple versions circulating now point to the same claim. That's early in the morning of January 20th. The move was made directly at the Central Party School. The operation was carried out by a special task force within the public security system under Wang Xiaohong. Some reports even claim foreign assassins being involved. Now, these claims are unverified, but the pattern they describe is what matters, and that is a serious pattern. Here's the issue. When the CCP deals with senior military leaders, cases are normally handled through military channels or the PLA system. It's usually it's usually the CMC mechanisms, and the party discipline bodies only work with the military on the side. And it's extremely rare for public security, aka the police, to step in directly. And the military has its own courts, its own political legal system, its own discipline inspection bodies, and its own detention facilities. The entire enforcement chain operates within the PLA. That isn't unique just to the CCP or the PLA. Militaries around the world function the same way. Civilian authorities do not normally interfere in military rules and discipline. Once military affairs are handled by outside civilian channels, the nature of the system changes completely. And this is where the system breaks, because this move on the two generals humiliates the military itself. If public security directly took down serving CMC leaders inside the PLA, this would be seen as a deep humiliation. It's the police apparatus pressing down on the military. For PLA officers, it's institutional humiliation. And also, Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhengli both carry enormous prestige within the military, and that's an objective fact. You can't argue that. And General Liu General Zhang is a princeling, and General Liu comes out of the field army system and is widely seen as a combat-oriented commander. So if people like them are taken away by police security, the shock to military morale is enormous. And also, there's a rule within the Red families. That is, you can fight, but you can't cross the line into killing. And this is a serious rule established by Deng Xiaoping and the party elders during Deng's time. Now, Zhang Youxia is a princeling. So if he is dead, or, because people can't find him, then there's a serious issue here. That means that line is crossed. The entire elite power, or the entire elite power community instantly loses its sense of safety. So this time, Xi Jinping, they crossed that line. And this is the first time. This is the first time that this line is seriously crossed. People are thinking today it's Zhang Youxia, tomorrow it could be any family. And that fear is not imaginary. This leads to two direct consequences. The first is the rest of the party is losing trust in Xi Jinping. Second, every faction is beginning to build its own security mechanisms. Imagine when power elites stop trusting the central security system or the public security system and start relying on their own protection networks. The CCP stops being a highly centralized party and starts to resemble a multi-armed political bloc. When every Red family is building their own private army to protect themselves, it's a classic pre-Civil War condition, right? When everyone begins preparing their own private security forces. So at this point, at least three major forces inside the CCP are actively moving. I've told you about, I think, two of them. So right now there are three forces that are responding to this crisis. The first is the conservative camp associated with Zheng Qinghong. Where is he? This guy. they're still trying to negotiate with Xi Jinping, demanding to know Zhang Youxia's whereabouts. And according to people close to this source or this faction, they have agreed to give Xi Jinping 3 months to produce Zhang Youxia. That's the result of their negotiation, partly to save face for the regime, because Xi Jinping has secured 2 visits, the visits of 2 heads of state, Putin, although Putin is not in good health, Putin and Trump. So allegedly, this camp gave Xi Jinping 3 months to produce Zhang Youxia. Many insiders say this is the worst possible compromise. 3 months is too long. For anything could happen, and it could risk General Zhang's life, and buys Xi Jinping time to flip the table. And the second force is the bureaucratic establishment, and often linked to Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao. And sometimes they're called the reformist faction. This camp is watching and waiting for the right moment to move troops and confront Xi. And then the third force is the core Red Princeling clans. And they have gathered around Deng Pufang, son of Deng Xiaoping. And according to these claims, Deng Pufang has lost patience with Xi Jinping. And he believes Xi Jinping must be removed, even if the regime itself fractures in the process and breaks. The most dangerous of the 3 is the third camp. Their logic is a negotiation. It's survival. They believe negotiating with Xi Jinping only leads to losing. Action, in their view, is the only way out. They still have the resources, old networks, and their own security channels. And online, some princeling voices are now openly heard. And the message is very clear. It's a warning. It says, if Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhengli are not handed over, they will respond with non-procedural methods. Non-procedural methods. And some even hinting at retaliation against the Xi Jinping camp. So at the same time, information controls are clearly escalating. On X, there are now large-scale systematic operations by the CCP's propaganda apparatus in the tens of millions. Right? When people search for Zhang Youxia, results are often flooded with porn content posted by long-running CCP-linked bot accounts, clearly meant to divert attention and bury the topic. Every time we have a major event happening, that's, you see that on X, then you're constantly fed with porn contents, in-language porn contents. And yet, every day, large numbers of Chinese military officers and officials are still climbing the firewall to look for real information about Zhang Youxia and Xi Jinping, because they need to judge whether the situation is getting out of control and which side to stand on. For them, this isn't abstract politics. It's a matter of personal survival. And that's why what happens next won't be gradual. It will be abrupt, in my opinion. So what should we expect next, right? This is the million-dollar question. The Xi Jinping camp wants to drag this out as long as possible to buy time and try to flip the table during the process. The anti-Xi camp, meaning the conservatives, the reformist, or the reformist bureaucratic bloc, and the princeling clans, they don't have much time left, unfortunately. Time is not on their side. Why? Well, because the two sessions are about to convene in early March. There are the delegates to the National People's Congress and members of the CPPCC, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Delegates to both organizations from across the country will travel to Beijing to have the two meetings called the two sessions. This includes military delegates. In principle, nearly all CCP generals are NPC deputies who will be entering Beijing for the two sessions. And this is extremely dangerous for them. Now, if before the two sessions, Xi Jinping still refuses to back down, or the anti-Xi camp failed to get the situation under control, then every general attending the meetings could be pressured to publicly pledge loyalty to Xi Jinping while they're in Beijing. Right? It's one thing when these generals are with their troops at the base. It's another once they go to Beijing. So those who refuse could face the same fate as Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhengli, being taken down in one sweep. Last year, Zhang Youxia used the two sessions to remove several of Xi's loyalists in the military, including He Weidong. This year, Xi Jinping could use the same session as a pretext to target generals who refuse to show loyalty. So that's why time is running out for the anti-Xi camp. They have to make up their minds before the two sessions, which are only weeks? It's just right around the corner. It's 2 weeks away. And if you remember, at the end of January, the Politburo did not discuss the two generals' case to retroactively approve Xi Jinping's move. That made the late February Politburo meeting the key focal point ahead of the March 2 sessions. Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao reportedly want Hu Chunhua. Here's the guy. To move from the CPPCC into the State Council as vice premier in charge of the economy at the two sessions, replacing He Lifeng, who is a Xi Jinping loyalist. This move isn't just to replace He Lifeng, but it's the prerequisite move to pave the way for Hu Chunhua to eventually become the sixth CCP leader, replacing Xi Jinping at the 20th and at the 21st Party Congress. So they must put Hu Chunhua in a substantial political position in order to further elevate him to replace Xi Jinping at the 21st Party Congress, which is next year. So that means that this, if it must happen at the two sessions in early March, that means the late February Politburo meeting must approve it. Otherwise, the two sessions wouldn't be able to confirm it. So right now, the two moves are colliding. Xi Jinping wants the Politburo to retroactively approve his move against Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhengli, but the anti-Xi camp wants to push Hu Chunhua into the State Council. These are the key signals to watch in the coming days, because we're on the 19th? The Spring Festival holiday runs until February the 14th. So the Politburo meeting could run anytime from the 25th to the 28th. Yeah. But things are already being worked on under the table right now. This Lunar New Year is unfolding amid intense infighting at the very top. Now, if Xi still refuses to back down, then according to these claims, the party's top coordination and decision-making body may be forced to consider a forceful solution or risk being overturned by the Xi camp. So in recent days, red families are said to have been highly active behind the scenes. A close associate of Xi Jinping and his wife, Peng Liyuan, who used to be the commander of Shanghai garrison, his name is Chen Yuan, who allegedly was responsible for the death of former Premier Li Keqiang, was transferred to Beijing to take charge of the capital garrison. But most officers in the capital garrison are reportedly aligned with Red family networks. It's said that the Red families have a tight grip on the capital garrison because they would not risk having the garrison, Beijing garrison, fall outside of their control. So as a result, Chen Yuan, who is a major general, is said to have been sidelined, and the capital garrison is not under Xi Jinping's full control for now. Now, what about the party elders in the anti-Xi camp? Are they safe in Beijing? Some are said to have left the capital to seek protection from field army units. Some others remain in Beijing. While the Central Guard Bureau could theoretically detain elders or figures like Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao, Xi Jinping reportedly wouldn't dare, at least not before he regains control of the PLA. Without the military's backing, he cannot risk an all-out confrontation. If clashes break out and PLA units enter Beijing, Xi's camp would likely collapse quickly. Now, if PLA units were to enter Beijing, the capital garrison is said to remain neutral and not resist. And then Xi Jinping's camp is described as relying mainly on the Central Security Bureau, which has about 10,000 soldiers, and then the Ministry of Public Security and several thousand personnel in special security units. They're essentially Xi Jinping's private army, private security force. And the capital garrison has long coexisted with the Central Security Bureau. And it's said that it's unlikely to move against the PLA units because they're under the control of the Red families. So if you line up everything, people say this will make the PLA having an advantage over Xi Jinping's forces. Right now, those who are openly backing Xi Jinping are said to be mainly hardcore loyalists from his Fujian network, aka Wang Xiaohong and Cai Qi. Other factions, other people are waiting to see who wins before choosing sides. It's saying that if Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao were to make a decisive call and order PLA units into Beijing, Xi Jinping's camp could be brought down. And Xi Jinping could possibly be given the option to step down due to illness, just to save his face. But conservatives, the conservative faction, has warned that such a move could split the party, pushing Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao to hold back and seek a negotiated outcome. And that's why they're stuck. Where's Hu Jintao? Yeah. So talks have reportedly dragged on. And the reality is, after all this time, Zheng Qinghong is said to be unable to confirm if Zhang Youxia is still alive or not. And Xi Jinping has denied family visits, fueling speculation that the two generals may already be dead. So some individuals Deng Pufang. Okay, Deng Pufang is said that he no longer trusts the conservatives anymore. He suspects that they might have already cut a deal with Xi Jinping's camp to buy time. But without PLA's backing, Red families alone cannot confront the tens of thousands of armed personnel Xi Jinping controls in Beijing. So it's in a very delicate situation. And there are even doubts about this man. Where is he? Okay, this is the newly promoted commander of the Central Theater Command, which has the responsibility of protecting the capital city. His name is Han Shengyan. He just got promoted, last December. Now, he does not carry the same prestige as Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhengli, and therefore, he may be lacking abilities in stabilizing Beijing in the case war really breaks out. And some even suspect that he could be suddenly targeted by Xi Jinping's camp. His life could be in danger. So that's why there's a calling, there's some voices urging General Liu Yuan to lead the PLA and act quickly and not miss the strategic window that they still have now. Where's Liu Yuan? Oh, yeah. So there are strong voices calling because General Liu Yuan has the prestige to lead the PLA as the interim leader and make a decisive move to take down the Xi Jinping faction. So he is the one who many people believe can lead the PLA right now. So under these circumstances, the claims suggest that only Liu Yuan leading the heavy units of the 82nd Group Army into Beijing could decisively defeat Xi Jinping's camp. But pre-battle assessments anticipate heavy casualties, potentially in the thousands. And this is a burden Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao have never faced before. As a result, they're said to be very cautious with that decision. Now, if they ultimately refuse to deploy the PLA into Beijing, and if Xi Jinping refuses to back down, then that means Hu Chunhua cannot move from the CPPCC into the State Council at the two sessions. That means he will not be positioned as Xi Jinping's replacement at the 21st Party Congress. It means that Xi Jinping could entrench himself indefinitely. He could rule indefinitely, and China will become a larger size North Korea. So to sum up, with the two sessions approaching in early March, NPC deputies and CPPCC members from across the country, including military generals, must enter Beijing. And since most CCP generals are going to be in Beijing, Xi would have the opportunity to pressure them to pledge loyalty. And those who refuse could face the same fate as General Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhengli. And that is why time is of essence. And that is why the late February Politburo meeting is so critical. If the party's top decision-making and coordination body fail to deal with Xi Jinping in the coming days, Xi Jinping could regain control of the military and completely reverse the situation. So you see, the Zhang Youxia case is not at its core about one individual being taken down. It's the entire struggle machine turning back on the very center of power. When the two factions, I should say when the top leadership no longer trusts each other and begins to see each other as threats, the system becomes unsafe for everyone. So where is Zhang Youxia? I mean, the question where Zhang Youxia is a dangerous one to answer, because the implied answer, I mean, first of all, nobody has the answer, but the longer it drags on, then people inevitably can make their own conclusions. And then that means the two sides are in a deadly fight. The system probably can break from within. All right. With all that said, I want to mention my new video for the Looking Glass channel. It's a video that you will love because it's the perfect balance between geopolitics and culture. It talks about a banned book in China. It talks about why Xi Jinping is why Chinese are so obsessed with the crooked tree in Beijing. And it talks about Xi Jinping's past life, the parallels between him and the last emperor of the Ming dynasty, who hung himself in a garden outside Beijing. I think that's probably one of the it will be one of the most popular stories that perfectly balances culture and politics. All right, Nicole, if you could paste the link here for people to see, that would be great. Now, I want to answer a question that was sent to me today from Linda. She sent me a Reuters article, and the title is How China Plans to Dominate Global Trade Long After Trump. And so the article basically is saying that China sees an opening to turn President Donald Trump's tariffs to its advantage by reshaping global trade in ways that would insulate its 19 trillion economy from US pressure far into the future. First of all, China's economy isn't $19 trillion. It's grossly overstated. Hold on, let me take a sip of water. This is my branded cup. You can order it from the link below. Yes. Okay, let's back to this question. So the article claims that Reuters conducted a review of 100 Chinese language articles by state-backed trade scholars written since 2017. And it reviews a systematic push by China's policy advisors to reverse engineer US trade policy and neutralize Washington's containment strategy. So the article is saying China is now putting that blueprint into action. And one of the examples it quoted was the deal reached with Canada as a result of Carney's visit to Beijing. Which, I mean, the deal slashes tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. And the article says that it was the first of many aimed at breaking US leverage, according to interviews with 10 people, including Chinese officials and trade diplomats. I don't know. I mean, I really think this is CCP narratives. I know, but I need to give you good analysis. I mean, it's so cleverly done. It's almost done as an objective reporting by the Reuters with rhyme and reason, but it's not convincing to me at all. Here's my view. Well, this Reuters piece only tells one side of the story. It leaves out the bigger context. Now, before Trump's first trade war, the US essentially ran an open door system. Anyone could come in. China took full advantage of that, right? China took advantage of that openness and embedded itself deeply across American supply chains, markets, and technological ecosystems. Then the US changed the rules of the game in 2016, actually after Trump came to the office. So this study this study allegedly, they studied articles from 2017. That's during Trump's first term. So at the time, during Trump's first term, I should say, Washington basically said the door is no longer wide open. We'll keep it open for those who play by the rules and respect basic norms, but not for actors who exploit the system while undermining it. Once the door was only half open, the country most affected was China. And what we're seeing now is predictable behavior. China is going around the house looking for side doors and windows to get back in. That includes working through third countries and trying to build alternative trade routes with US allies and neighbors. It's working very hard. But here's the key point the Reuters article missed or glossed over. China's maneuvering doesn't mean the US made the wrong decision by narrowing access. In fact, whatever China is trying to do now is still far less damaging than what happened when the door was fully open and China had unrestricted access to the US market and technologies. So yes, China is actively looking for loopholes. But no, this doesn't mean Washington's strategy is failing. It seems the pressure is working. And most importantly, none of these Chinese efforts can be called a real success yet. There are workarounds. The Reuters framing just suggests that the US is losing the game by tightening access. I mean, that's what the article is hinting. I think that's the wrong conclusion. I think it could be affected by their anti-Trump syndrome. What do you call that? Trump derangement syndrome. The real question isn't whether China is trying to circumvent US pressure. That's unavoidable. The real question is whether those attempts are actually restoring China's old level of access and leverage. So far, they're not. So that article does not concern me. And in fact, that's why, some of these Western articles are, what can I say? They're done diligently with facts and good reporting, but they're really missing the big picture. I feel like the journalist doesn't think logically. They intentionally miss the big picture. They only pinpoint a small quote unquote issue, and they missed the big picture. All right, that's the question I got today from Linda. That was my answer. Okay, I saw some super sticker questions flew by, so let me address them. All right. Oh, here we go. JKNI7. You are the best on info. You're always very beautiful. Oh, thank you. Oh, I want to say I'm so happy to hear that Alicia Liu won gold in ladies skating, figure skating. Isn't that great? I mean, this is what the first gold medal in ladies single skating in 24 years. I'm just very, very happy for her and her family. She deserves it. After that long journey, a long battle with the CCP, starting with her father and with her, I think I'm just very, very happy. Phonetic forager, Stalin for time wouldn't be off the marks. Stalin, by comparison, Stalin is pale, right? Yeah, whatever's happening inside Zhongnanhai outperforms Stalin. Question: How long will they wait? How long will they wait I mean the people in the military, for them to either be seen or their bodies produced before they start going wild. What's the timeline? Well, like I said, the timeline is the 2 sessions, which is right around the corner. It's early March. It's 2 to 3 weeks away. So it's not a good thing when all these generals who have collectively remained quiet and watched on the sideline to show up in Beijing. They could be put under tremendous pressure, and Xi Jinping could coerce them, force them to pledge loyalty, and then declare victory. Someone said, "Hi, Lei, finally caught you alive." Well, thank you, and welcome. All right. Brian Cow. Well, thank you, Brian, as always. All right. Questions? There's a Kevin Stankiewicz. Is this CCP internal leadership fight good for US, especially during Iran conflict? Is CCP harmless to foreigners during this party leadership fight? Of course, this internal leadership fight is good for the US, as long as the US reads correctly into that and knows how to take advantage of it. But if the West or the US fails to recognize what's actually happening, then they missed a great opportunity, right, in countering the CCP. And the second question, is CCP harmless to foreigners during this party leadership fight? Well, it depends who you are. I think, didn't our State Department warns people about going to China? I don't think this is a good time to go to China in general. I mean, you have to, I mean, if you have to go, then you go. But just for leisure travel and all that, I don't think so. And actually, things are getting so expensive in China now. Life in China is very difficult for the ordinary people. But if you're a foreign tourist visiting China, I'm sure you will still find it to be affordable. But people living in China say that things are very expensive. Yeah. All right. Okay, I see legal eagle. In a rule of law country, there is a writ to allow the courts of law to look at whether the arrest was lawful. China claims to abide by rule of law. It's a lawless state. The laws are subject to interpretation by the party. The law exists as decoration. Because Xi Jinping's arrest of the 2 generals are completely violates any internal rules and regulations or even laws. Mike Stewart said, Gao Zhikai, Victor Gao, inadvertently proved that corruption is rampant in China in August 2024. Yeah. Oh, good that he finally spoke some truth. I think life must be very difficult for people like Victor Gao and the other scholar, Jin Keyu, who wants to defend China. Those I shouldn't say China defender CC, those scholars who defends the regime, they're going to find their life increasingly difficult. Kevin, okay. Canada will not exist in a year or two. As after oil-rich Alberta votes for independence from Canada this fall, Canada will go broke without its oil taxes. And Quebec will leave next. Yeah, Canada is a great country. I have a lot of friends in Canada. It has the best Chinese food in North America. It's just very sad to see what its government has done or its politicians have done. It's disappointing. Yeah. Nelson K. Nelson, you said Putin is not in good health. What have you heard that we have not? Can be worse than Trump's health, can it? Oh, he. At the Munich Security Council, didn't Zelensky made a comment saying that he's much younger than Putin? And then he also made a comment that saying that Putin didn't have much time left. And right after that, a former Chinese journalist working for the Apple Daily revealed that Beijing sent a medical team from the military hospital, the 301 General Military Hospital, the 301 hospital, the one that designated to treat CCP leaders. They sent a medical team to Moscow together with a medical team from Pyongyang, because in North Korea, there is a similar organization dedicated to the longevity of its top leader, the Kim family. And so that organization, the Longevity Institute in Pyongyang, sent its team to Beijing, and together they flew to Moscow. And together, there were 6 young PLA soldiers who went with the medical teams. And all 6 PLA soldiers had type A blood. So, and that post alleged that Putin has not been seen in 13 days. I think this was actually acknowledged by Western media. He has not been seen in 13 days. So that's the Western media. And then Zelensky made that eerie remark. And then you have a Chinese journalist breaking the news that both North Korea and China have sent emergency medical teams to Moscow. Well, put all of that together. I don't think Putin is in very good health, or his health is in question. All right, Legal Eagle, I agree. 3 months is far too long. They need to have the courage to be decisive. And if Zhang can be produced, they act swiftly to remove the feather. I love that analogy. Then gaining kudos with the rest of the world. I agree, I mean, the Xi Jinping's advantage is he is fast. He acted fast. He's ruthless. Whereas the other ones, I mean, this is the perfect example to show you when a gentleman fights with a ruffian. If the gentleman is not decisive, is not courageous, if he is obsessive with his gentlemanly manner, he's going to lose. That's the perfect example. All right. Okay. Clip pie. The PLA can fix this. Cowards, if they don't. They can? You think they can fix this? Well, I'm sure the generals wouldn't just throw up their hands and just give in, and go to Beijing and don't do anything, because their life could be on the line if they do nothing. Someone said, "Long live Canada." Brian Cobb, Would like to know your thoughts on Secretary Marco Rubio's speech at the recent Munich conference. I heard parts of it. It's very well said. It's a speech that we need to hear. It's a speech that needs to be delivered. He's very articulate. It's a good speech. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, did I reach the bottom? No, I think there's some more. Oh, someone say, are you asking for, oh, here's anyone. Okay, I think that's, oh, here's a question. Could you do a talk on how China has influenced Canada's healthcare system? Oh, not just Canada's health system. I mean, China has infiltrated Canada everywhere. So it's very sad. Same with Australia. I mean, the United States is, I think, the only Western country that's still trying to hold its ground. And I think it's not so easy for the US, for the Chinese to infiltrate the US, partly because it's a larger country. I mean, by large, I don't mean geographically larger, but with more people and more resourceful. I think the cowboy spirit of Americans has to do with it. I think by comparison, if you compare all Western nations, I think the Americans are the least obsessed with their gentlemanly manner. I think the Americans are very down to earth, and they're very direct. They're very straightforward compared with the Europeans. So they're less, that quality make them less likely to be fooled by the CCP. If the Europeans are too, I don't know what to say. You know what I'm trying to say. Okay, all right, that's all. Oh, here's a question from someone. Asked me about Jeff Epstein. Where did that go? That question flew by. Sorry, I missed the question. Someone asked me. Oh, here. Does Professor Jeffrey Sachs work for the Chinese government? He is never critical of China. I don't know. I've seen some of his talks. If someone is never critical of Beijing, I see a problem. If someone is persistently critical of the United States, but never critical of China or the CCP, I see a problem. That's just my general assessment. I don't know who he works for, but he's very eloquent and made some good points. Okay, someone say, I want to know your opinion about the speech of Taiwan president that CCP will not stop from Taiwan invasion, but invade more after that. I think that's true. That's a very accurate observation of the CCP. CCP's ambition, as stated, is to take over the world. The first step is Taiwan. Once they gain control of Taiwan, we lost the Pacific to Beijing. So I think that's a good assessment. All right. All right. I think I'll end here because it's been an hour and I'm a little thirsty and hungry. All right. So I'll be back this weekend. I may not be able to do a program on Saturday, but I'll definitely do a program on Sunday. So stay tuned. All right. Bye.